Wesley Crusher is a Time Lord. Hear me out, right? In Star Trek Prodigy, we are once again introduced to Wesley Crusher. He's been off exploring time and space and God knows what else since we last encountered him. Before, he was a member of Starfleet and quite frankly, a kind of annoying brat in The Next Generation. That is no slight in any way upon Will Wheaton, who is absolutely amazing in the role and amazing in Big Bang Theory, playing himself. Love him in that show. But no slight on him, but his character was written almost to be intentionally annoying. I don't know what they were thinking. But he matured into someone awesome. Now, I do think that some of his character traits in his appearances in Prodigy and his interactions with the Prodigy crew were a bit uncharacteristic, un-Wesley-like, but people change. Wesley Crusher, again, was re-encountered. By this point, he is now a member of the Travelers. We now learn that the Travelers actually work somewhat within the confines of people like with people like Gary 7 and other time agents that have been sent into the past of various worlds. And they're there to protect the timeline, basically expanding the lore of the Travelers. The Travelers themselves have different degrees of rank within their order and are seemingly a far more extensive and organized society than or group would be more accurate, than what we actually first gave them credit to be. Possibly even part of the reason the Q Continuum have to kind of keep themselves in line. But why do I say he's a Time Lord? First of all, let's put all the pieces together. When we encountered him in Star Trek Prodigy, there was a tear in space-time. This is where we first encounter almost parasitical race of trans-dimensional extra time creatures. I don't really know how to describe them. They both exist and don't exist in normal time and space at the same time, and they are known as the Loom. They are large, odd-looking creatures with like tentacle-like appendages. They grip hold of things that are a wound in time, and then they consume it, a bit like a weeping angel or certain other creatures that we will get to. And they do this until effectively the wound, the fracturing of time, is consumed and gone. And they feed off that ambient energy or whatever. And whatever they consume is erased from time. Everyone or everything that ever knew them doesn't anymore. They forget they exist. They never knew them. Everything they've ever done, everyone they've ever spoken to, anything they ever touched in their lives, gone. And I assume unless you have temporal shielding, in which case you would remember them. But who has that, really? The Travelers, probably. Point is, the Loom do that. That brings me to a creature from Doctor Who. In an episode of Doctor Who, the Doctor, then portrayed by Christopher Eccleston's particular incarnation of the Doctor, to be specific, the Doctor and Rose travel back in time so she can see her father. Wibbly wobbly timey wimey things ensue, and they go back again, they cross their own timeline, they create a paradox. That paradox opens up a wound in time, into which, or through which, the Reapers flow. They begin to consume everything affected by the rip in time. Sound familiar? They also kind of look similar, although the Reapers have wings unlike the Loom, but both are able to apparently fly. They're also damn near impossible to destroy. Now, normally, the Time Lords repair the damage to the timeline, preventing the emergence of the Reapers and kind of sending them back. The Travelers would also normally repair such damage to the timeline or other time agencies, because we also know there was some overlap with the Temporal Cold War and all this, which we're not getting into. But although it does strike echoes of Time War, doesn't it? So he's a Time Lord. Anyway. They would also repair this before it happened. We also encountered, just to say it, a time ship. And this is, you gotta squint a little bit. Of course, the Doctor has his famous ship, the TARDIS. Now, the TARDIS is not actually a police box. It has a chameleon circuit that is broken, and it took on the appearance of a police box and is stuck. Other TARDISes, they can still change shape. The chameleon circuit still works. The Doctor just doesn't want to fix it. He clearly knows how. He's not a stupid man. He can clearly fix it. He just doesn't want to. He likes the police box. So he has his police box time machine. And one thing that the TARDIS, the time and relative dimension in space, is famous for is being bigger on the inside, or smaller on the outside, depending on which way you want to put it. And we encountered in 2151 a small time ship with no obvious engines, a bit like the TARDIS, no obvious front or back, much like the TARDIS, although it did have an entrance, much like the TARDIS, and when they went in, it was bigger on the inside. They never even got to explore all the compartments. Once again, this ship seemed to have a pocket dimension folded within itself. This was at least a 31st century vessel, and there was a human pilot on board who apparently had genetics from multiple other species that implied that he was a product of multiple generations of interspecies breeding, but he was predominantly human. Now, by this point, he was toasted and unrecognizable, but definitely still human. Here's a bit of speculation that's probably not true. That was Wesley Crusher in his TARDIS, because he's a Time Lord. And he was back in his time ship, but we do know they can regenerate, a bit like a Time Lord, where they merge future and past versions of themselves to create a new person or something. It's wibbly wobbly. But, of course, we don't know that this was Wesley, because DNA, well, they didn't have Wesley's DNA on file in 2151, so we wouldn't know that that was Wesley Crusher. However, we don't know much about Wesley's parentage. We do know, of course, he was the son of Jack Crusher and Beverly Crusher. Now, we know Beverly is human. We know Jack Crusher is human. But we don't know much about their ancestry, aside from it appears that what we do know, up to at least her grandmother, Beverly's family were all human. But maybe Jack had a bit of Vulcan in there. A bit of Rigelian. Maybe. Go back a few generations. Or humanity had had several centuries to interbreed by that point. Why not? Anyway, this brings me to my conclusion. Wesley Crusher is a Time Lord, because if you squint a little bit, that could have been Wesley Crusher in that ship. That could have been his time ship. And we do know that the temporal accords are not specifically Starfleet, as Daniels and later Kovich, as we would come to know him, same person, would explain that not technically a part of Starfleet. Although I still hold my theory that he was actually Section 31, just the 32nd century version of it. Section 31, again, is not a Starfleet agency, it is a Federation agency. The Temporal Accords are actually a treaty, not an agency. So, and I can easily see Section 31 being heavily involved in policing time. It's another video, another talk, another topic. But what do you guys think? Wesley Crusher or Time Lord? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video and made it all to the end, please like, share, and subscribe. And I thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Hi, well, yeah, I'd finished editing this video and then came up with a thought, a question for you guys. The Doctor is famous not only for their villains, but also for their companions. Your Rose Tylers, your Sarah Janes, etc. Who exactly would make a good companion for Wesley? Whether he was a doctor or just in general carrying on as a traveller, who would be his companion? Pick anyone from the Star Trek franchise. Who would make a great companion if you were to see a series of Wesley Crusher, the Time Lord, the Traveller? Who would be his companion? It's an interesting thought process.